Yep, I'm doing Mimighoul now. You have no normal summon, nothing to normal summon, and it doesn't matter because you don't have an extra deck anyway. It's a fun control deck that's easy to learn and build on a budget. As usual for my guides, I'll go over how they work and everything you could possibly need to build your own Mimighoul deck. It plays on the opponent's field and has elements of chance, so nobody knows what's happening. Plus, now that Snake Eyes have cheap reprints, I can finally go over how they synergize with every deck I built. Oh, it got banned immediately after its affordable reprints, even though it's already been power crept by other decks which haven't been touched at all? I'm so tired. I entered a YCS and cosplay to remind myself to stop taking this game so seriously. Thankfully, there are many other ways to build Mimighouls. The theme of this deck is that your opponent is crawling through a dungeon of booby-trapped treasure chests. Opening one hits the opponent with a negative effect, then it comes back to your side. They will have to flip those mimics because the dungeon locks down players who have any face-down monsters. Because this is Master Rules 2020 Yu-Gi-Oh!, we complete the illusion of choice with effects that flip the opponent's monsters for them. And we also have several one-card plays. You can establish the lockdown with just these two cards, for which the theme also has two support searches each turn. Or if you've already drawn one, now you can spare a search for some truly heinous combos. I'll cover how Mimighouls can work pure or go on offense by blending with other themes. Plenty of individual text too. You probably know about Summon Curse, banishing the opponent's hand, or you can search for just about any of their monsters using Where Art Thou? But you shouldn't, because the actual quote is Wherefore art thou, Romeo? Wherefore means why, not where. Juliet is wondering literally why he is named Romeo Montague. She wants him to give up his name and disown his family so they can finally hook up without her parents getting mad, because Juliet is a ornery 13-year-old. This play is not about true love, it's about why you kids should keep your pants on. You don't need a boyfriend. Play more Yu-Gi-Oh! For those new here, I'll start by explaining the in-theme cards. The mimics can all be summoned face down to the opponent's field, perfect for disabling certain traps. When flipped, each will apply an effect and then defect back to your field. The first three reward you for finding a way to summon them to your field instead, whereas the self-summoning effects of the second wave mimics can alternatively put them on your field face up as extenders to help you Xyz summon. Dragon is by far the best with its high stats and support search. It's a one-card play on its own. Its flip effect of built-in Regeki is tricky to use, because if you simply give it to the opponent during your turn, they'll start their turn by flip summoning before playing any monsters for it to destroy. The solution is to summon this during their turn by using the trap room so they can't flip it right away. Archfiend is a crucial combo piece because it can force flips during your turn. It triggers a gifted mimic and sets up an Xyz summon. This is the turn 2 play. I would run 10 if I could, but if I get called for a deck check, I will have to eat the other 7 very quickly, and I just don't have that kind of appetite. Fairy is the easiest extender and the most likely to hurt the opponent if flipped because it applies a lingering restriction. But you can only summon it once per turn, and ideally you want it on the opponent's field, so I recommend diversifying your deck with an armor whose only purpose in life is to be an expendable fairy for Xyz summoning. Slime doesn't disrupt, and it's the toughest of the extenders to get summoned to your field, but you will see it build major advantage in the combos coming up. Last and least, Cerberus is neither reliable nor impactful. Slap 2 mimics together. Both of their Xyz monsters will search for more cards and offer some removal. Giant is generic and has game-winning damage effects, while also searching out your next combo. Throne is a decent defensive play on its own, getting you the Master and a bounce. The Master is your protect the castle boss. Like Stratos, on summon he searches for a Mimighoul for you to gift, and he can flip it on the opponent's turn. Over half of this theme gets you another monster card. When the gang's all here, he is an indestructible god dealing 4,000 direct damage. With the throne to summon him from anywhere, you could live on the edge with just this single copy. Play a few rounds until you find the ratio you like. For support, like any modern field spell, we have searches, stats, and lockdowns. With all of this search power, I think you can get away with just 2 copies, depending on how guilty you feel for splurging on all these Crystal Beast cards. It seemed like the whole deck would revolve around just these 2. But no, the lockdown and Xyz strategies are both able to hold their ground until you can reach the other. This is such a better design than Yugi's ceremonial deck, which literally can't do anything without its main main card. Now here's an epic gamer move. Mimighoul Rooms summons from the deck and flips an opponent's monster face down. That's 2 ways to stick the opponent with an unflippable monster. Set up the Regeki Dragon or summon it to your field for defense and another search. Plus, from the graveyard, it can bounce your cards to dodge targeting or just resummon to trigger their effects again. Rarely does a single trap card get this much utility packed into it. Again, it's highly searchable, so you could run just one. I use 3 because, as you know, I have 0 chill. The best Mimighoul card is Charm, because it's the most fun. You get to steal random cards from the opponent's extra deck. When it comes to winning duels, though, I mean, well, it's the single most unpredictable card in the entire game, so pick it up, try it out. I just think that if the duel is slow enough for this luxury to matter, then Giant has probably already won. It's the same with Mimighoul Fork. What if Destiny Draw was bad and also did nothing? If you find a Mimighoul Fork in the road, leave it. Oh, and one more thing. When you give the opponent a Mimic and trigger its flip effect, that counts as their monster activation, which means you can enable 3 stupid options all by yourself. This should go in every deck you build. You'll even have a normal trap for thrust, which is the only kind of thrusting you'll be doing if you play a combo control deck. When building a Mimighoul deck, be careful not to fall for your own traps. And I'm not just talking about how a face-down Mimic on your field will bite yourself instead of the opponent. For example, there are some Mimighoul cards which reward you for slowing down the duel. But the deck's main cards can already reach lethal damage on your second turn regardless, so these feel like a waste of space to me. The other design trap is flip support. There's been a lot of generic flip support recently, right? That means we should play them with Mimighouls, right? Oh, Padme, don't you know that Yu-Gi-Oh! Makes no sense? Long story short, Mimighouls don't work with any of this stuff because you want only the opponent's monsters flipping, and Mimighouls can only flip once because then they become yours. What the flip? The biggest splash was from Mimighoul Maker summoning any 2 flip monsters. With enough luck, you could give the opponent the awful Fire Sorcerer, while you set a floodgate like Guard Dog or Whirlwind Weasel, which the Mimighoul Master can flip. It'll even get Morphin Jar! Yes, I love Empty Jar. I know it's just Solitaire, but I'm a combo player. My life is just 60 different ways to not let anyone else play Yu-Gi-Oh! I will have fun, though. I alone will have fun. I am alone. If you too are alone, and you feel that there is no community where you will belong, please consider putting Dimension Shifter in your deck. What, are you gonna lose, friends? Oh, where are they? You've got nothing to lose! Banish those graveyards! Long story short, the on-theme Mimighouls outclass anything you could make from generic flips. So now that we've narrowed down the card pool, finally, let's see some action. Mimighoul Maker grabs any 2 flip monsters. Pick a Mimic if you don't already have one, because then it can also summon a Mimighoul from your hand. Later, its graveyard effect can force a flip if the opponent special summons. So you actually won't need Master to force flip, so many cards overlap with Master's effects. I'll teach you the 3 main Maker plays that I use and when to use them. Typically, it's Archfiend and Dragon. No matter which flip goes to which side, I will have a full 1-card play. Thanks to Giant, they pull out card after card. So while you could maybe sit on an old-school Floodgate flip, the on-theme plays are much stronger and more consistent. It's okay if you need to rewind this clip a few times to follow along with both plays. As usual, I'm trying to cover a lot of ground in these guides without taking too much of your time. I love the versatility of strategies with alternate search targets, so if I already have Dragon, I choose Archfiend and Slime. You just saw what happens if they get Dragon or Archfiend, but now, if they get the Slime, then we summon Archfiend. Look at how this is about to multiply. Archfiend flips the Slime, which also summons Dragon, which searches for a dungeon, which is going to search for a fairy. We've got plenty of materials to summon a Giant, who will search for our trap. And now we've got everything set up. Anytime you can get Archfiend and Slime together, you're in for a fun turn. Let's rewind back to that main pair. If Archfiend is the card that I drew, then I get to do something much less fun. When I already have Archfiend, I go for Slime and Fire Sorcerer. So that's a 50% chance of getting the big Slime play that you just saw, or else getting the opportunity to summon the worst flip monster in history to the opponent's field and immediately flip it. Fire Sorcerer banishes 2 cards from its new controller's hand to deal a measly 800 cowboys. This is mandatory and a cost. There is no way to negate this. Plus, these 2 still get your usual setup. Normal summon the dragon to go to the dungeon, then these 2 will get a room. Give your opponent a fairy, and then take a moment to evaluate your moral code, because you can use that room to guarantee the dungeon lock as God intended, or you can defy her by using it to flip Fire Sorcerer back down, summon an Archfiend from the deck to flip it up again, banishing a total of 4 cards from the opponent's opening hand. No one shall be caught playing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game on my watch. The International Criminal Court has sent out a warrant. Fortunately for me, the United States is not part of the ICC. Rules for thee, not for me. Wait, oh no, I'm doing the same thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Am I part of the problem? No, I don't play meta. Anything can be fair as long as you do it with a rogue deck. Snake Eye was a common blend before original Sinful Spoils was banned. You can find plenty of videos from other Yu-Gi tubers about how they can pivot into a rank 1 giant which can search out Mimighoul cards, or fill the entire board with just 1 Ash, even though they aren't even fire. I officially don't have to cover Snake Eye because of the ban, and because Mimighouls are not in Master Duel yet. That didn't age well, but still others have covered Snake Eye extensively, and while it's definitely good, it's not my favorite. Which is nice because their hot new end piece was Silhouette Rabbit. I do not like how, open for business that rabbit looks.
Did you know that in terms of...
I actually don't think they were the best match anyway, because Snake Eyes can brick in decks that already have their own normal summons, and can't make use of a Flamberge that got stuck in the hand. Mimighouls don't need any help setting up on turn 1, so focus on engines which can help breaking boards going second. Although if you've got another favorite level 1 strategy that can make that giant pivot, go ahead and try it out. I know there are some anime girl birds out there. Or for the dragon players out there, maybe you've got a way to search and summon Mimighoul Dragon. That can set up a little dungeon lock on its own. If you want to be boring, your secondary engine could just be a pile of ashes, rocks, and what were they thinking giving a name like this to what they knew was going to be the second most used card in the game. The other popular build I won't be covering here is Kashtira, because I do not use Kashtira cards. Look, I may be a combo player, but I'm not evil.
Your Crystal Beasts and Knights put up endless negates, your spirits destroy half the extra deck and lock out monsters, and you just banished 4 cards from their opening hand!
Yeah,
the only way you could be any more evil is if you did all of that at the same time! No. No!
My preferred complement for this deck is a returning favorite. Mimighouls put a monster on the opponent's field. Are you getting Ken and Gen flashbacks? Cause I'm getting Ken and Gen flashbacks. Dogmatika Matrix! Matrix searches for a Dogmatika ritual card. Then, because your opponent controls a monster, you also get a second Dogmatika card. You get both pieces of a free level 12 ritual summon, which also sends Lulu Lilith to the graveyard, getting you another monster at the end phase. I didn't talk about this in my Shino Baron guide because it was $20 and Daddy wanted 5 boxes of bran flakes. And Daddy got 'em! Thanks to a reprint, it now only costs half a box of bran flakes. Golly, do I love prop comedy. Dry and flavorless, like a My Love Life. Next, you can use the Matrix's Ignition effect to access your toolbox or snipe something from the opponent's extra deck. If you don't see or fear any Fiendsmiths in there, next Albazoa can cut their extra deck in half. 4,000 points, immunity from special monsters, and at the end phase, Lulu summons a free saint. Here's what you can get from that. Your first option is to summon Ecclesia, who searches for her teacher's regular form for another body and monster negation. Or summon her Sword Soul form, able to draw 2 or destroy something. Iris is going to be the most reliable of these cards. If you have space in your extra deck for fusion summons, you can get Quem or Ecclesia, who will pull out Fallen of Albus, ready to fuse into Mirror Jade. Although don't expect the opponent to walk into that. Lulu can even summon Blazing Cartesia. Unfortunately, she can't fuse with Mimighouls because they're all Earth, but if you have another Dogmatika monster or a rabbit that I'd like to stop looking at me like that, I'm not in the mood, I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, she can fusion summon Googly Grande, which will then dump a draw or a bounce, then later transform into Quiritus or Proskenian, or if you don't mind spending the other half of those bran flakes, a second copy of Lulu for negation, and maybe another summon at the end of the next turn. Personally, I just use Iris, but the point is, you've got options, and all of this is a byproduct of the ritual summon. That's an insane amount of of power off of just one card. Dogmatikas also give you access to Nadir Servant for search and destruction. Where are they? Right over here. You get a search and removal from one spell. And because your extra deck is loaded with things to dump, you can also keep the fun going with Ultimate Slayer to really tear through the opponent's field. Mimighouls don't demand much from their extra deck, so you've got plenty of room for these tricks. The downside to a Dogmatika engine is having to give up summons from the extra deck, so just do your freaky Mimighoul stuff first and then end on Dogmatika. If you Xyz summon with your Mimighouls, then Ecclesia can now special summon from the hand, getting you to your Dogmatika stuff with minimal investment. No normal summon. Even if the rock drops and you lose these, face-down monsters do not get tributed. So you can keep your dungeon lock and you still have Lulu's summon at the end of the turn. Oh, please tell me this was recording. It's not a perfect synergy, they don't search for each other. If you've watched my other Yu-Gi-Oh videos, then you know I am a psycho combo goblin with unreasonably high standards. Still, there is an advantage to having two engines able to run at high power alongside each other, which both restrict the opponent's options. Is Dogmatika a better complementary engine than Kashtira? I don't know, but I do know that it's a heck of a lot cheaper. Like, you could have a cash engine, or you could have Dogmaticals plus Speed Duel Battle City Finals, the most fun you'll ever have playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, we had fun. You can have fun too, unless you're sitting across the table from one of my Wombo Unless you have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Against me. But like, I'm not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Opponent, I'm an experience. On to the second to last section of every guide, the text. I'm guessing you know about Summoning Curse. Give the opponent a Mimic, and they have to banish from their hand. That'll hurt even more if you're giving them a Fire Sorcerer to flip. Paying the maintenance cost during the end phase is optional, so feel free to let it expire after it's run its course. If going first against an opponent who's sided in lots of disruption, this can be an effective way to reduce their hand without playing into anything. I haven't liked flippy tricks with this deck, but you could use Floodgate Trap Hole and Quaking Mirror Force to flip your opponent's monsters face down forever, so they can never escape the Mimighoul dungeon! But they will be able to escape their friendship with you, so watch out for that. Unless your extensive collection of combo decks has already routed all the friends from your life. Why does nobody want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With me? A simple rank 1 can be turned into number F0 here, but it does require a brick in the main deck and a big chunk of your extra. As big and cool as this Utopia Dragon thing may be, it does come with a steep opportunity cost. Alternatively, that Ghost Trick Search could be a continuous trap which freezes the opponent's positions, but it's a luxury that's not terribly difficult to break out of, and again, there are better ways to go about the flippies. Swords of Concealing Light just isn't searchable. Again, Mimighouls can do all sorts of silly things, but their own things are usually better. That's just how power creep goes. Reverse Reuse can revive some mimics on the opponent's field, which will also trap them in the dungeon for at least that turn. Maybe use this with Fork if you're very silly, but you do get the same primary benefit from just Room or the sticky traps. It's been okay for me, but I think I've just been lucky with it. You can use Assembled Nightingale to stall for a while, or to guarantee that your Xyz monster can attack safely and upgrade into Zeus. What is assembled about it? I don't know. Words don't mean anything anymore. A rank 1 bird made specifically for Mimighoul is Ripple Bird. It's a way to flip a mimic during your own turn. And then if you can keep all your monsters sideways, the opponent can't attack. You may be better off with the old number 13 Embodiment of Punishment, which flips as a quick effect. These tools fill a role that only Archfiend can match, but in practice, having to sacrifice 2 materials has made them niche. Only helpful if I have a slime to gift and no Archfiend to flip it. As you know, the slime will summon Dragon, and then you can go off from here, but extending this way off of a Ripple Bird leaves me vulnerable to rocks, even though the basic play, you know, giant dungeon room, was probably already fine anyway. As much as I love elaborate combos, in competitive play I don't like to overextend if I already had a solid board. I've already mentioned Shifter, Tactics, Ultimate Slayer. There are plenty of things that do work here. Just not flip support, because there are hundreds of different deck themes in Yu-Gi-Oh! And still they are making things that do something nothing else can do. You don't get that from any game but Yu-Gi-Oh! The last segment is about going first versus going second. Going first, obviously, you have the main dungeon lock strategy. Stick the opponent with a fairy for the extra floodgate effect. Give a dragon in the Mimighoul room so you can hit him with a Regeki on their turn. Archfiend is tempting for the +2, but letting the opponent choose their discard can be turned against you. Pin the opponent down for just that turn. You'll probably gather the 4 main cards, plus a dragon with 2,500. You can attack for 55 total, maybe like a little armor just to get over the next 1,000-point threshold, and then use Giant's Burn to destroy a bunch of your cards and finish them off. Or if the opponent doesn't have enough face-down monsters for Giant Mimighoul's effect, you can use Mimighoul Room, bounce things back, and then fill up the field again, and now you have more face-down monsters contributing to Giant's effect. I got a bit messy in that explanation, but this is a messy deck anyway because you're playing on both sides of the field. Also going first is when the Charm is easiest to use, but Fire Sorcerer and Summoning Curse will probably hurt more. If you really crave those classic flip shenanigans, going first is when you could side those in. For going second, this control deck still has decent options. Giving the opponent a dragon and using Archfiend to flip it will be a top priority. I wouldn't recommend Dimension Shifter going second for my personal build because it'd mean giving up Ultimate Slayer and the Dogmatika engine, which are really great for efficiently breaking through boards. You can run more of these than shifters. It is a powerful advantage to have cards which can build resources while breaking boards, to not have to pray that you draw the right combination of offense and defense. Spells and lands. Pokemon and energy. For the same reasons, Kashtara is also fantastic for going second. And going first, your Mimighouls can trigger their banishments yourself. That's another way to snipe their extra deck. With either blend, you don't have to totally break their board anyway because you can clog up their zones and you've got traps to follow up with. Just gum up the works enough that they can't rebuild and your multiplying Mimighouls will do the rest. The same story with every control deck these days. Everything just multiplies, like that rabbit wants to do with me. Don't give me those eyes. I'm 3 hours into this recording session. Unfortunately, that does also mean that Mimighouls can be countered by filling one's own zones, so the Mimighouls can't be gifted anymore. But if you're a skilled duelist, I'm sure you'll draw those Ultimate Slayers. So that's my Mimighoul guide. It should make for a fun addition to anyone's gauntlet of fun, creative budget decks. I am sorry that this video took so long to get out. Next will be at least one updated Crystal Beast guide, and I want to gush about the Odeon cards. Those speed duels don't have much of an audience, so I'll just do a few more of those. And half of my channel is still Nintendo and Pokemon stuff. I feel like everything I've been doing is time sensitive, and I have been delivering late on everything.
If your opponent activates Dominus Impulse, they can't activate Earth monsters for the rest of the duel, meaning your Mimighouls will never trigger again.
What?